Welcome to the show.
I guess I'm a liar. I still don't even know how to act. I don't have my anything working here.
You had your video on there a second
Yeah.
ago. Now your video's off.
I think I got it back working. I just don't know how I can't do it on my computer, which is
No,
odd.
you can't. It's only for your phone.
Okay. Well, then that's the caveat there. I was only able to view from my computer.
Ah, well,
But
here we are on our phones.
yeah, man. It's been a minute
Well,
since we've done one of these.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Are you in a new residence or are you in an old residence?
Because I'm in a new resident. I'm in an Airbnb right now, hoping to solve my housing situation by the end of the month.
Gotcha, got you. So Kyle and his fiance are moving into a new location. They're buying a house, and I'm excited about with the progress and getting the updates from them. So I'm excited to see how this all rolls out.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll
All
see
right,
how it ends.
all right, Kyle. Since I only have a phone, I don't have a laptop here. You're gonna have to lead the conversation in the outline. I saw the outline and the topics, but you gotta let everybody know what we're talking about, and let's talk about it.
I guess we can just start with the stablecoins stuff. Um, because there's in my view there's a lot happening with what's going down with stablecoins. There's been a lot of rumbling about essentially stablecoins being the vehicle for mainstream adoption to like digital currencies. Um, we have this bill going through Congress right now, which is stalling. Apparently, that's the news as of today. Looking at this article from the Block by RT Watson that basically saying that they're trying to push a stablecoin bill through Congress, um, and it's basically being stalled because people are challenging Donald Trump's crypto activities. Um,
Rightfully
and so
so, may I add.
yeah, and so they're calling this the Genius stablecoin bill. This past week, yeah, the bill is slowing in the Senate. And so it's interesting just seeing kind of how the general legislation or legislature is reacting to people trying to advance bills on this. Like, it just seems like, in my view, it's not necessarily going to happen anytime soon, based off of just like the initial reactions here. Um, but I mean, there's greater just like headwinds around stablecoins. We've got this article here from Deutsche Bank that's announcing that they believe crypto is going to go, or that stablecoins are going to go mainstream in 2025 after seeing U.S. regulatory progress. So again, a lot of these predictions by banks, that's kind of what this report is about, is hinging on the um yeah, trajectory and like the momentum of these bills. Um, and then, just to bring it all back together, a couple of weeks ago, we saw Ripple try to, or there was a report from Bloomberg that Ripple offered to buy Circle. And yeah, I thought that was way bigger news than people uh kind of highlighted. It was just based off of a report from Bloomberg. So I don't think there's really a lot of concrete truth to what that is. You just have to trust Bloomberg on this. But it's indicative to me of like larger mergers and acquisitions that are going to start happening. We saw it with Coinbase and Deribit just this past week, a massive acquisition there. So again, just stable coins is kind of the general point here, because there's a lot happening. And there's this bill that's stalling. We have major banks and financial institutions kind of pushing for this. Um, yeah, any thoughts there, Matt?
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think that first of all, let's just talk. Let's be truthful about this. The Democrats do not like crypto. They have never liked crypto, and passing legislation for crypto or anything crypto related is going to be them basically taking an L. So it's going to happen with Republicans only, unless they find a way to benefit from this and not take the L. And so I see that Donald Trump is the scapegoat for the non-vote or the stalling in Senate for this, with
Hmm.
two things. Number one, rightfully so, that he has a lot of conflict of interest in the crypto space. His kids and his family is making these products or companies that are basically revolving around crypto. He has a stable coin. So they have a stable coin. They have a couple meme coins, Melania and Trump. And well, it's just not nice, you know? So yes, do they have a point? Yes, they do. However, is that a reason to stall Stablecoin Act? I don't know if that's the case when you can literally just write a provision that says, "Hey, the president of the United States can't hold a stablecoin company." So I think that they're using or using this as a political tool against Trump to highlight what I also do think is, conflicts of interest. With that said, we can't deny that there is a lot of Trump just signed an EO today about pharmaceutical company and lowering drug prices. Will that happen? I'm not too sure, but I can tell you right now, there's a lot of Democrats and Republicans that take pharmaceutical money that aren't happy about this right now. So, who's taking the bank money? Who is going to be entrenched with those kind of lobbyists? What lobbyists right now, when that stablecoin bill is going to the floor or possibly going to the floor, is knocking on the doors of Congress and threatening to cut off, fundraising funds. So my third caveat to this whole stablecoin thing is that we do see that this is going to be the next trillion-dollar enterprise. Trillions of dollars, trillions of dollars. The United States GDP is about $30 trillion. You have trillions-dollar companies with investment. If you turn that digital and digital money and stablecoins become a real big, and I'm not saying that they're not big now, USDC at what is it, 60 billion market cap, Tether 150 billion, which is called roughly. That's going to balloon to $1 trillion market cap of stables, 2 trillion, 3 trillion, because we're talking about people holding cash to do business, trade stocks, and so on and so forth. So this is a mad rush. This bill passes and gives you the green light. We're privatizing money for the most part, and whoever's going to be in control of that is going to be in control of not only just trillions of dollars of capital, but tens of trillions of dollars of the velocity of money and how many times the money changes hands, which equals GDP. So this is not a little thing.
Yeah, the velocity of money. That's an interesting concept here, right? Because stablecoins are about breaking down barriers. And to your point here of trillions of dollars, right? I'm looking at a um, thread that was posted by this project called Blizzard Fund here on Twitter. But they're claiming that stablecoins are already a $15 trillion financial system, where that was the stablecoin volume last year, and that it surpassed that of major like traditional rails and credit cards like Visa, MasterCard, and Stripe. And so
Wow. And we're talking
it's
about
it's
the velocity of money that goes through stablecoins. You said is $15 trillion.
yeah, it's saying right, the A16, there's an A16 zero report or A16Z crypto report that says, yeah, in 2024, $15.6 trillion in stablecoin transactions went down. That Tether was
That's
148
nuts.
billion, USDC was 62 billion. Um, yeah, there's a lot of stablecoin money moving out there. And that a lot of these major rails like MasterCard, Visa, and Stripe, like they're all starting to move towards these decentralized or just digital rails. Stripe acquired Bridge last year, and this is still in this thread. They had $1.1 billion betting on stablecoins. They acquired it for $1.1 billion. So they're by looking to acquire these sorts of like because it's like a bridge, right? These like blockchain systems that are can act as bridge and like cross payment systems.
Yeah, I think that anybody who's watching right now should just, okay, first of all, how is GDP and roughly how is it? There's not, 30 trillion dollars just out there in people's bank accounts. It is, money that passes from one hand to the other. When you get that dollar, it goes from from your job to you to McDonald's to the employee to their own chicken nuggets, and so on and so forth. And then when you buy the chicken nuggets, it goes back to the farmer, and money changes hands multiple times, which creates the velocity of money, GDP, and all those different things. And so, just do a quick math of, first of all, not only how much money can they hold and get yield off of, but then just do, even if it's nominal fees, and we're talking about nominal compared to the banking system, we're still talking about billions, billions of dollars annually. I mean, maybe tens of billions, maybe hundreds of billions of dollars annually in pure profit.
Mm-hmm.
Pure profit. I mean, because we're not talking about no restaurant profit margins. And so they're not paying 30% for food costs and 30% for labor costs and then rent. They're talking about they have to run some servers on AWS somewhere and then just bank the rest.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking here at this another thread hosted by Ryan Sean Adams, the co-host of Bankless, and this is just less than 10 minutes ago. His post, but his post says the U.S. will onboard the world to crypto. People have no idea how fast the U.S. is pivoting pro crypto, and it's not just Trump; it's structural.
Hmm.
Why? In a word, stablecoins.
Hmm. Yep.
Besson isn't just bullish stablecoins, they're literally his lifeline, blah, 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 blah. But his thread here is just kind of talking about how foreign holders of U.S. Treasuries as of February 2025, he's got a chart here showing like that there's almost 2,000 billion. So yeah, 2 trillion in stablecoin market cap that they think can like just come from foreign creditors. So at like holding US dollars in stablecoins as like official credit to the United States government, right? Like
Mm.
that's essentially what this post is about, and just saying that like by adopting stablecoins, like there's just like endless, like not endless, but there's like a ton of different markets and different areas, and they're pointing out foreign credit here as just one way that stablecoins will be utilized in order to to grow their like use cases. So
And one thing
it's happening everywhere.
And one thing Cameron pointed out here too, and we should mention, is that it's gonna integrate with tokenized stocks as well. So just like one thing that I know you work on quite a bit is like DPIN, tokenized assets, tokenizing stocks, 24-hour markets on Wall Street. Instead of the whatever it is, 9:30 to 4 o'clock or 4:30, whatever they trade, and crazy stuff
Hmm.
in this day and age. Um, Once you open that up. Now just talk about not just talk about business and money and investments. Talk about the assets. Talk about the housing market. Talk about the stock market. Talk about, just basically say we can own a dollar, a physical greenback, and get paid off of it. Absolutely crazy. Stablecoins is absolutely nuts.
Yeah. Um, what I think is important is that we keep several of the state like that several stable coins exist. Right now there's obviously Tether and Circle are two of the bigger ones, but I think it's important that we maintain this kind of um existence of many different stable coins, because this is not it's not unprecedented in US like monetary history, right? We've had several different times in US monetary history, we've had different forms of currency. And this even dates back to like different states having their own currencies. And so as long as everything kind of settles and is on the US dollar, I think that's really important. And it helps maintain US dollar hegemony. Like if you are the United States government and you're like scared of losing um like if you're scared that crypto is going to take advantages from the US dollar, like into the international monetary system, using stable coins that are backed by the US dollar is like the is the main way to continue to have that like power. And so I think it's something that the government can embrace in some ways in order to like do that. I just hope that yeah that there's not some like government USDC or something out there. That to me is where things go bad.
Well, so I'm actually changing my opinion on that, sir.
Okay.
I changed my opinion on CBDCs bad and the and crypto stablecoins good. I don't know if that's the case because when you have a government-backed CBDC or government-backed dollar, it's still there's still a little bit of control of the people. We get to elect our officials, we get to protest, we get to do these different things, and it falls under the rules and guidelines of the United States of America, which is the Constitution.
Mhm.
What I've seen and what we've seen in modern times, especially with social media, is that a great way to subvert the Constitution, especially even when it comes to digital ownership. And I don't know if this is subverting the Constitution, but I know when it comes to speech and social media, what does the government claim? Or it's a private company, so they can edit your speech, control your speech, shadow ban you, blah blah blah. That is an infringement on the First Amendment, and but it's a private company, so you can do so. When it comes to different things that we saw when it comes to I kind of lost my train of thought, but long story short is when you have a private company, we have shown that the government can use that private company to subvert the Constitution. If your money is now owned by these private companies, Circle, Ripple, Tether, and so on and so forth, what makes them say that their terms of service doesn't say like monitoring, cutting off, controlling where and how you spend, reporting directly to the IRS, and all these different things that we would in America at least say this is an infringement of privacy and our rights. So honestly, I think that this is very bullish. And the other thing is like it doesn't do anything for us. It does something for the company. A stablecoin is a stablecoin. You buy it with a dollar, and they make money. It's great for if you hold XRP, maybe, but do they really need XRP to have a functioning company as Ripple? I don't even know if you need that. So I'm actually more worried and nervous about the private companies than honestly I am about the CBDC.
Yeah, no, like not 100% agree, but I can completely hear your concerns there. Um, and to touch on that Ripple point for a moment, like I think that they went like part of me thinks that they went after Circle, like the acquisition attempt there. Um, that kind of shows to me that they know that their stablecoin doesn't have product market fit.
Hmm.
And that they know that XRP itself is not going to be like a preferable um like method of, as you said, like method of transfer for like money, right? Like it's just not. People are going to prefer to use Ethereum and build on Ethereum than building on Ripple's system, for example. um and so them recognizing that, buying something like Circle uh is crazy to me. Like it's just like what, and that offer they gave of like just 4.5 billion. That's such a low ball offer. Like, um, just based on like how much you would probably think that Circle gets in like revenue on that stuff every year. Um,
I'm happy
yeah.
you thought so. A listener thought that it was fair. I can't remember what listener it was off the top of my head. I think it may be Jace. Anyway, so shout out Jace or shout out the listener. But I'm happy you think so. But reports had that are not confirmed. None of this is confirmed. Is that they came back with a $20 billion offer. Um, but no, I agree with you that I don't think that it's that there's no product market fit for their stable coin. I think that at this point it's just easier to buy something that's established. It makes total sense. It's like, hey, we'll buy that. People are using that. I really don't know. Anyway,
Hmm. Yeah. Um, okay. Well, let's pass on the stable coins here. Um, or move on from the stable coins here. Um, this is a headline I saw today. And we it's that Frank D. Gods is announcing his retirement from Utes and D. Gods NFT projects.
And who is Frank
And
D. Gods?
he's the founder of those two NFT projects that during the cycle in like 2021, 2022, these were like very powerful NFT projects in the sense that like having this as your PFP was like a big clout move. Um, and so I just see this as indicative of like almost like the one of the nails in the coffins to if the NFT craze from a couple years ago. Like it's just like even some of the most powerful people here who are just moving on. Like there's just nothing left in that space. It's just um to me, it's indicative, and I know that there are definitely flourishing NFT communities out there. That there are still NFT projects that provide value. Definitely, don't get me wrong, but to me, it's that one of those signs. There's another article here from the block. Says he had a 3.5 year tenure. His quote was, "I dedicated 3 years of sleepless nights to make this all a success." He's handing the reins off, so the projects are not like completely dead, but
They're
yeah, I just
completely
think
dead.
it's a sign. Yeah, to me, it's a sign that they're on their way out. So look at somebody in there, loaded Cameron in there commenting on loaded lions. That's the NFT from Chronos Chain, I believe, or crypto.com. Um, yeah, so that's an interesting one to think about too. What's going to happen to crypto.com? The Lakers are out of the playoffs, so who knows?
So crypto.com, here's my hot take. I mean, I've said this on the podcast multiple times. I'm going to keep repeating it until it comes true because I bet it will. What happened, and put on your tinfoil hat with me really quick. CZ started Binance and it was brilliant. Why? Because he
Mhm.
made Binance. It was a good exchange, and then he launched a token, and he made a killing with that token. Not only was it trading fees, people buying, speculating, number go up, and then he made an ecosystem around it. He laid the groundwork of how to do this. You know who was around Hong Kong at the same time? Two people, all in a circle: SBF and Crypto.com, Chris Marslick. They're all hanging out together. And you know what happens? FTX does the same business plan. Crypto.com does the same business plan. FTX goes under. Why does CZ did that to him, by the way? He's the one he's the one that set that whole thing up to fall. Why? Because CZ knows exactly how that game worked. Chris Marslick, the same thing. Everybody's like, oh, SBF was spending all this money naming arenas and sponsoring shit. Crypto.com did the same thing. Where'd they get all that cash? And for some reason they didn't get caught. Why? Because nobody was able to knock that tower down or rug them. I promise you, Crypto.com. Either if they're solvent now, then they weren't solvent at one point, and there is a shady business to their growth.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it's interesting seeing where all these projects do come from. You had some good call outs there. Uh, and Yeah, I mean, I think what I thought, pointing that out, like what I always thought was absolutely hilarious was how Major League Baseball, and I don't know if you noticed this, like FTX used to be on the umpires' jerseys,
Yeah.
and I always thought that was like the most hilarious thing that umpires who are supposed to be like neutral arbiters are now like walking billboards for FTX, and then it crashed and ends up not even being um any sort of um yeah, like so sufficient business model, and it's like that's to me that's just really embarrassing for the MLB. Like, but you know,
Oh,
everybody got hoodwinked and
horribly.
everyone got hoodwinked in that situation. So I think what you're not going to see that type of stuff. These like Super Bowl commercials and things in the future. Like, there's going to be a lot of these big mergers and acquisitions. I think that's going to be like the future of just like trying to blend and put the crypto in the background in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think they're not gonna make that mistake again for a while until Circle starts naming those arenas. But no, back to the NFT space. It's really disappointing for me. I don't know how you feel about it. It's really disappointing to me because loaded lions roar. Um, it's disappointing to me because NFTs are such a really cool idea for the blockchain.
Mhm.
If you just want to put it on like, I mean, if everybody knows what NFT is, I know you do, so I'm not gonna say this to you, but the people who are watching live, um, NFT is basically putting or making a certificate, a one of one certificate, and it can be one of one, it can be two of two, it can be four of four, it can be a series, but making a, let's just call it a one of one certificate on the blockchain of a certain thing. And I can tell you how many times that I've heard stories about forged documents or university diplomas for jobs or ID or whatever, and in the sheer um the sheer bureaucratic or logistical nightmare of verifying some of these things. Is it the right passport when you go through customs at a certain place or whatever? And you could just throw it on a blockchain, and everybody would know that that NFT minted passport or ID or travel document or diploma that is from the Ohio State University or whatever university is exactly that because they have put it in the blockchain that lives forever. And so the idea of NFTs is absolutely amazing. NFT for art is absolutely amazing. The fact that it is not taking off more as a mainstream solution to some of these problems is a disservice to the problems that we have, and it shows the inefficiency of our government and the old guard bureaucracy. Blows my mind, sir.
Yeah, I mean, there are examples of NFTs going mainstream. Like, there's an NFT artist, the guy, his name is Marco Santini, I believe, New York guy. Um, Sotheby's said that he created a new form of art because what he does is he creates NFTs of like uh, old pieces of art and mixes it with new stuff, and creates these NFTs. So his stuff, I mean, his stuff sells for a lot, you
Hmm.
know, and I agree. There's a lot of different use cases for things like this. You know, the state of California experimenting with driver's license on the blockchain. That was news in the last 6 months. You know,
Oh, they did.
uh,
That's cool.
yeah, they're actually going to use the AVAX avalanche chain. Um,
Oh,
which is kind of funny. But like I know one of the not congressmen, but like local California city council members. He's come and speak at events in San Francisco. Gosh, his name's Ben something. I forget his last name. It's something B with a B. But he was on like Gavin Newsom's how'd you say it? Gavin Newsom had like a task force like 3 or 4 years ago about like here, and this task force chose like and researched like 90 different ways that the state of California could use blockchain to like be more efficient. And you're starting to see like some of these things come true. Blockchain, driver's license, diplomas on blockchain, like high school diplomas on blockchain. There are certain certificates like that that are starting to be like played out. And I think it's better that we start to see that type of stuff at the state level. Like I think it's good to start seeing, you know, the Wyoming DAO LLC stuff. And some of the because the each state, right? That's the whole classic phrase. Each state is like a its own little laboratory, 50 laboratories for democracy, right? So, if each state can try and figure this out on their own, and then we can adopt it more nationally, at least in the United States, I think that's fine. You know, in Europe they have their different registrations like Mika, all over the world, obviously different economic standards. Um, but yeah, I think it's a good thing to pay attention to. So
agreed.
yeah. Um, Well, that's all I had on the docket today. Just those
Oh,
kind of two things.
we flew by that already?
Yeah, it's been I think about a half an hour so
Let me
far.
see what I thought you had something else on the Ripple, Trump, stablecoins. Yeah, that's it. Right on.
Yeah,
Any questions over there
and in
in
the
the chat?
comments, so that is some high risk espionage. Someone says is brilliant, but it's dangerous. Yeah, yeah. No, this is great. I mean, Bitcoin's back over 100K. Uh, Ethereum's up over like 40% in the last 2 weeks, which is really, really crazy.
So
There's a
hey,
lot of
what do you think
things.
that's because of? Do you think it's the Petra, or you think that just number go up all around?
Well, I think Ethereum's kind of always been lagging behind the increases in Bitcoin. And you kind of saw that the week or two before that, where Bitcoin kind of had some upticks and Ethereum stayed stagnant. Um, but it's also just like, where are people building? Right? Like that's what I think is important. Like there's just consistently going to be inflows of money into the Ethereum ecosystem. Um, there has been a little bit of stabilization around the Ethereum foundation. Um, but at the same time, like there's still a lot of cracks in like what's happening there. Um, but at the same time, again, it's still the backbone of like most things that are being built.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out myself. I personally just think it's just number go up all around and easing, the trade tensions globally, geopolitical stuff. And it's interesting because we have two conflicting arguments. Today I saw the headlines. The first headline said, Trump negotiating deal between China and the U.S. number go up, money's flowing into riskier assets, and then the same thing on another media outlet you have somebody else saying like money's going to flow out of riskier assets because of the China uh, trade deal and tariffs. And so I'm not too really sure what's happening. I personally think that if you have more trade, more people are going to be bullish. You're going to have more capital flowing into riskier assets. They're going to feel more comfortable. Their businesses aren't going to, go under because they're not getting stuff from, wherever they're going to get it before, or have to really hunker down with, capital in the bank to try to weather any storm that could come. And so, look, I think it's just pretty simple. If Trump
hmm
works out these deals, and everything goes back to, or people, the sentiment goes back to normal, number go up. People are going to take a bit more risk because look, you don't just look at $104,000 Bitcoin and go, "Oh, number went to 104,000. I missed it. I'm going to stay out." Some people would, but I think most people would be like, "Oh, there's still some upside to it," especially since everybody's calling for 152, 250 by year's end. So there's still a lot of capital to be gained. Anyway, I think that there is a. I think that is the case. Is we just see more comfortable consumer sentiment that wants to put their money into riskier assets because they feel more comfortable.
hmm Yeah, no, I believe so. It could happen. Yeah, who knows at this point?
Exactly. Anyway, just hodl, y'all, hodl. No, not
Yeah,
financial advice, obviously.
yeah, exactly, exactly. We should
All right,
definitely
bro.
do these more often, man. We should get
Ab-
back
abs-
into the regular swing of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if anybody's watching, oh, and ETPs, of course, please discuss ETFs. Please
Yeah.
discuss ETFs. Hey, Cameron, what would you like to know about ETFs, or what would you like our thoughts on these ETFs or ETPs, or both or all?
Yeah, like ETFs, exchange traded funds. I think with crypto ETFs, the situation is like with Ethereum. Um, Ethereum's uh, Ethereum's value as like an asset isn't only about it being a store of value. Ethereum at its core is like a supercomputer.
Right.
It's a place to build other software, right? It's kind of its own rails and its own software system in itself, thinking of it like that. So you can build things on top of it. Um, so its kind of denomination as a silver to Bitcoin's gold, I think kind of misses most of the point there. Um, and it doesn't fully capture the value of Ethereum. So again, exchange traded funds are just going to track the price of a of an asset like Bitcoin or Ethereum, or if there's a Solana one or whatever. Um, there's a lot of these like applications are always being submitted. Like, this fund submits application for SWE ETF. And it's like, okay, is that really going to happen? But there are a couple of these that haven't passed. Like, I think there's likely going to be a Solana one by the end of the year. That was something I doubted initially this year. But David Sachs is probably likely pushing for it and has his hand in this. But yeah, overall, like I think when it comes to smart contract platforms like Ethereum or SWE or Solana that are different than Bitcoin, the store of value argument just falls flat. And so an ETF just kind of tracks their price. And so yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my view there.
Well, Cameron was talking about capital appreciation, and I don't know if he's talking about I don't know if he's talking about exchange rates. I don't know where he's located or how he's looking at what market he's looking at. But one thing I said on the show is what we're seeing is the price of Bitcoin denominated in different currencies. The weaker the dollar there's a big opportunity for other countries to buy into Bitcoin, even though you are not getting as much in, say, the euro. You're actually getting more in terms of the dollar. And so I could see I think there is a flow of capital coming into Bitcoin, and we saw the same thing with gold because of the dollar situation.
Hmm.
And so and different ways to push this. And again, ETFs is one person was I can't remember who it was the other day was like, is it true that you don't own your Bitcoin if you have an ETF? That is absolutely true. But what
Hmm.
you do have now is direct access from your financial advisor, your broker, your the dealer. The institutions have now just direct access where they could put that on their books a lot easier. And now you are getting settled in Bitcoin by the end of the day. Custodians such as Coinbase are obligated via the SEC's regulations to settle these transactions day end in Bitcoin. So somebody has this Bitcoin, but you're just getting exposure. So indirectly owning Bitcoin, yes, number still goes up if you have inflows. And if you're and from different places around the world and exposed to the U.S. market, it's just honestly benefiting you at this point in U.S. dollar terms.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally agree. That's like kind of uh in some ways explaining like the point I'm trying to make just in kind of different ways in that it doesn't represent the whole value of it, right? If you just own an ETF, right, you don't own the Ethereum. What you need to do is actually go to like actually own it would be to self custody it and own it on the Ethereum mainnet chain and not on a third party like middleman financial system. Like,
Hmm.
and then some like the irony there too is if you buy an ETF, that's like if you buy an ETF of Bitcoin, that's like an oxymoron of itself, right? It's like jumbo shrimp, right? It's like it doesn't make sense. You have an exchange traded fund of Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin is supposed to exist completely outside of that financial system. And what you're doing now is buying like an analog in the traditional system to represent the price of Bitcoin there. Um,
Right.
yeah.
All
So,
right.
yeah, I think so.
Oh, Cameron, United States, Texas. Hey, if it's Austin, I'll let you know about when I'm in town next.
There we go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, so everybody's we got more people joining while we're about to leave. So anyway, I got to get back to work and sort
Hmm.
my X-Men cards.
There we go.
And yeah, man, yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll be doing these more often. Kyle, hit me up, and maybe we could do a daily news summary tomorrow as well. I will be bopping around, doing the same thing tomorrow. But everybody else, please tune in, dailycryptonews.net, subscribe. Kyle, the editor in chief, is going to be putting out great articles to get us more in tune with the space. Uh, Pay attention, as I said earlier on my earlier live, is the more you pay attention to the space, more you'll understand the trends, the more you'll understand the macro, and you can niche down on these different tokens and these different, I guess, industries within the space. And also, check us out at Daily Crypto News on Spotify and leave questions or comments. You can email Kyle at kyle@dailycryptonews.net, me, Matt, at dailycryptonews.net. And Kyle will be at Bitcoin conference at the end of this month. So
Vegas.
far, I don't think I'll be there. I don't know what's happening, bro. But if I am there, I will see y'all there. But if I am not there,
Yeah.
hit up Kyle.
Yeah, let's get this lady to approve your pass. That's what I'm
Yeah, that's what
pending.
I'm saying.
That's what we're waiting for.
All right,
But
guys.
yeah, no. Hopefully we get some more interviews going, so this will be fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, brother. I'll talk to you.
All right,
Everybody,
talk
happy
soon.
hodling.
Ciao.